What is up, my friends? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I am your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you can find over at MMAJunkie.com as well as LineMovement.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully it's before the fight, as I am recording this on a Thursday night before the weigh-ins, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except Marvin Vettori, subbing in for Kevin Holland, who was subbing in for Darren Till to fight Jack Hermanson. And that's what we will be breaking down from top to bottom. You can check the timestamps for that if you want to listen to less of me. I don't blame you, believe me. And, again, whether you're on YouTube, Daniel Tom MMA is the channel. Like and subscribe. Or Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings and reviews are helpful. I always include that timestamp in the show notes. Or if you really even want to, lessen your experience with me, which again, I don't blame you, go all the way to the end and I recap my picks and plays as I tend to do for every breakdown episode here on the Bayou. It's late night, Dan Tom, as you can tell. No alcohol, don't worry, just a little bit of Coca-Cola. Relax, folks. Oh, that here, just some Coke. Oh boy, that was funny. If I explains a lot, the sugar dosage. I apologize, guys. We're gonna get right to things here. We're gonna be recapping UFC on ESPN 18, UFC Vegas 15 for the first part. Maybe quick thoughts on Tyson Jones. You guys don't care about that. Who cares? And gonna give you guys some of the listeners here as shout outs for your guys' involvement in the Black Friday click throughs. So that'll be nice. And then we'll push on, of course, to the breakdown UFC on Vegas 16, UFC on ESPN 19, Hermanson, Vettori, top to bottom. Oh, all right, folks. Of course, you can get the in-depth breakdown that just dropped at MMAJunkie.com on the top for anything I miss. I wrote up as well with stats on both, some picks and plays over there on LineMovement.com, as well as, you can check out the Line Movement MMA betting show that dropped earlier this week, as it usually hits the streets before this podcast. If you want to see a tease, which your boy is looking and leaning at, of course that's recorded earlier in the week. But all right, gonna give you guys the freshness, because I actually did a decent amount of schmuddy for what is a kind of credit card, and let's be honest. But it's what we're dealing with, so. I'm not surprised, nor should this audience be, because you're smart kids. You're a bunch of smart kids. That's what I love about this audience, by the way. Like, I know we're in December, and you can kind of feel it, right? Like from friends, family, colleagues, people you interact with. I know most of us hopefully are trying to do our due diligence, but hey, man, delivery is not cheap. It's not a luxury we all or I have at all times. So you got to get out into the world, right? Even if you're working from home like myself. And with the people you interact with, sometimes you sense it, and it seems high, the despair, and I feel like everybody's like 2 steps shy, going full Jerry Maguire from their job. I'm just trying to treat them nicely like Dan Tom always does, and tip these delivery people extra, as I hope you guys are too, for the slave drivers that whipping the chain over there. Freaking possible Pinkertons. I know, it's part of but... But you guys do a service. I was gonna say I'll save that for the shout outs as far as the Amazon stuff. That's what that reminded me of. But I guess just a quick positive message as we push forward here is I just been sensing like just so much negative, and I'm wondering, I guess, if you guys sense that too. And I'm not talking about like online or on Twitter, because that's normal. There's just hey, man, I'm freaking Captain Weird myself, man. I'm not perfect. I don't blame people for disliking me, but like, you just come across those people, no matter how nice you try to be, they're just gonna try to argue. Or there's the straight out trolls that are just whether they're trolling, picking on ladies, or the women haters out there. There's all these little legions. The point is, right? Like, that's always gonna be there. I'm not even talking about like the low hanging fruit that me, you, or everyone else in podcast world tends to complain about. Like, I'm just talking about the general, like, human being level. I feel like there's a lot of, it's really getting to a lot of people, which I get, man. Again, your boy here is kind of living the pandemic lifestyle before it happened, it can get at you. So just make sure, again, like I said last week, you're doing your due diligence, reaching out to people, um, your loved ones and all that good stuff, all those who matter. And something I've been doing anytime I encounter, I'm trying not to feed into it, even when it's like, you're like, I hate using the word right or wrong because I'm not really a black or white person, and that's a real tricky perspective. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're quote unquote in the right, or like you could really like own the person, like I found myself doing that, like whether it's in real life or online, going like, you know what, let's insert gif of, it's not a gif, but it should be Dazed and Confused when the history teacher, the hot one is patting the kid on the head, the kid, Sasha something, patting him on the head when he's trying to hit on her. She's like, nice try. In other words, like, I just feel like that, taking that approach is just taking the high ground. And like Aaron Bronsteter actually shared a much better example of what I'm trying to get at here on Fernando Practice's podcast, Best Camp of My Life, which you should be subscribing to. Another excellent episode this week where Aaron kind of shared one with an example involving a Sarah Silverman, with just meeting it with a positive. Because that's one thing you got to remember, man. Like, we used to say this, and it was kind of one of those trite but true things where it goes, oh, they're just unhappy with their life. They're yelling at you because their life sucks. And there was definitely some truth to that, right? But now, it's not that there's not truth to that, but it's like everyone's life kind of sucks. It's a tough 2020, man, for you in one way or another, or someone in one way or another, right? I think we can all, that's fair statement. So, I don't know, man. I'm trying not to add to it. And one of my approaches, and this isn't anything new, I know it's like ripping off Pay It Forward, right? Except, minus the creepy Kevin Spacey. Boy, I hope Haley Joe Osment's all right. Oh, jeez, that didn't age well. But, like, one of the things I've been kind of, to parlay off of that, kind of like I said with the heater example last week, or like trying to do things like just what makes me feel better, even though I think what will make me feel better is like, hitting a single leg takedown and then like choking these people out. Refrain from the negativity, the verbal or the physical versions of that, folks, and instead try this. Just do something random, stupid, good deed, even if it's something like cheap or just just any kind of way to show a gesture to a loved one that you appreciate them, or a random good deed to loved one, friend, or random person, right? Cause. Shoot, there's plenty of those. Just try to vet them if you're doing it online, right? Again, this sounds super cheesy, and I'm going to push on to the breakdown stuff, folks, but like, dude, I've found that it really does help. Because that's the ultimate trump card, right? You can get mad at this, you can get mad at that, you can get mad at me, you can get mad at this person or that person, but like, what are you really doing to make the world better? In conjunction with these complaints that you, I, and everyone have, right? And that's the question right there. And what we see, of course, is a lot of calories spent on complaining about stupid shit, or not stupid shit, but just complaining and not doing anything. So less combativeness. Let's let the cage fighters combat. We'll bet on it, as we'll talk about here. And instead, let's meet things with a little bit more of more positivity when we can, because Lord knows the world and people in it that inhabit it need it right now. So I don't know if you guys are noticing it. Maybe it's just my weird empathetic fucking radar, which probably is true. But yeah, make sure you guys are spreading that around. We'll talk about the love you guys showed me in a second. But right now we're gonna recap UFC on ESPN 18. Very quickly, we went 6-4 overall in picks, which is like a sad average again, like I've been saying as of late. Probably for most of us, if we're being honest, but definitely for me. I'm not trying to compare, because I still feel better despite bombing on Kamaka. Speaking of bombing, boy, it was like Pearl Harbor for the Hawaiians all over again, huh? It's okay, folks. I can make that joke. I'm part Japanese American and from Hawaii. You like how convenient? As someone said, I forget it was. I think probably it was fucking Aaron. He was like, "It's so convenient. Yeah, the things you are and how you play off. I will abuse it, folks. I will abuse it. Dan already walks that tightrope of appropriateness. I'm trying to be better. I've retired certain words, if you noticed. I'm trying to be better here. But yeah, aside from that, it was a winning night, man. I really don't feel bad at all. Aside from that, went 3-0, technically 4-0, but I'm gonna round down. 3-0 in straight plays. You gotta be one of the few guys who rounds down. You know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ. The card was, of course, headlined by Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark, because why wouldn't it be? As you know, it was Curtis Blades that got COVID. It's probably saved me from a loss there, because I uncharacteristically picked Derek Lewis. Which sadly I probably will keep the pick now again. Hopefully Blades recovers okay though from the COVID and doesn't have the bad version of it that we've heard guys like Garbrandt or Edwards get. But Anthony Smith defeated Devin Clark. That was one where again the line didn't make sense, and I know I said I don't normally suggest to bet Anthony Smith as chalk, but the fact that the public didn't correct it, and then it got moved to a 5-round fight and people didn't blow up the line. You think Devin Clark's gonna wrestle for okay, there was a chance where he could have wrestled for 2 out of the 3 rounds, just barely enough, right? But not 5. And then the interviews come out where he's going to promise a first round finish, something he never really gets, and he's most susceptible in the first round. And it's super hard to get Anthony Smith out of there in the first round. I'm almost mad. I double dipped, and I'm still mad at myself. I still feel like I underdid it because I didn't quite hit the max out on it. And I went bigger than I normally do. I know I said I bet like a 9-year-old, but yeah, I've definitely been going bigger lately. And I did here, and it paid off because, yeah. Which sucks because you guys know, man, I wanted to go longer for, get David Clark some more main event ring time, we didn't even get to hear him get going, Come on, dude. And then, as I said when Aaron Browder said in the pre-show, he looks kind of like the trainer from Mike Tyson's Punch Out, because Mike Tyson was fighting the same night, and it was great. Aaron started singing the theme while I just was doing Devin Clark impressions. Run, goddammit, run the fuck. And anyways, I'm not going to kill my voice. It's already dead with some David Clark. But yeah, it didn't last long. Anthony Smith gets the triangle. Paca Porter defeats Josh Parisian, or as my friend Brad Taschek, who he's killing with the nicknames. If Thick Willie wasn't already a winner for this year, a close second contender for this year, not just, months later, it's with Carbo Parisian, the long-lost Parisian brother that was misplaced in the Midwest. Oh, Jesus Christ, Brad. So yeah, I'm glad that was on the avoid. And again, I picked Josh. I'm not gonna revisionist history that, but I did say that I didn't, I was staying away from it because of that line. Miguel Baeza was a line I didn't stay away from, defeated Takashi Sato. Got to give credit to my man Dan Levy, even though it was a pick and play of mine as well, and we came in on the same side on the Line Movement MMA betting show. He kind of put it the best, and now you've kind of seen that echoed and parroted to death now from Dana White on down, where if Baeza wins, he's going to look like a minus 300 favorite, and kind of and I sentimented that too on the show and as well as on Twitter. Probably my article as well, that if this guy hits, you really, you're going to see inflated lines. Not justly inflated, as they should be, but even past it to now, you're going to see a bunch of people still going, okay, this guy's good, but is he that good? Come on. We're going to see stupid lines where he's not going to really be even bettable for his supporters from a realistic fashion. And again, it's just going to depend on matchups. But I'm stoked to see Baeza flesh out his game because he's not done growing. So I'm excited, but I'm not too excited because he's not a finished product yet. So, and I don't want him to get rushed. Defeated Takashi Sato, who maybe, speaking of Pearl Harbor, where was Takashi Sato during the prelims, and why did he come out so tired, huh? Yeah, that smiling assassin. You can't trust them, Dan, you're part Japanese. Relax. All right, I'm just saying. Jesus, Dan, as if there's not enough racial tension in today. Let's go ahead and inject race from a historical preference in an MMA breakdown show, Dan. Wow. Oh, jeez. Sorry, we have a weird sense of humor about Pearl Harbor. Just not just being from Hawaii, but like, especially my poor mother. She's half Japanese and half white, but she looks white and grew up in Hawaii. When they still had days like called Kill Howley Day, where they took rocks and threw them at all the white people at school. So she would get shit even though she was like as Hawaiian as anybody else. And then, she didn't get much reprieve because the other part was Japanese. And on December 7th, which is, it's approaching. They don't do this anymore, folks who don't know Hawaii. This is old school Hawaii, okay? But they used to, and folks, again, not trying to be racial. I'm Japanese here, okay? But preference here. But they call it Slap a Jap Day. And yeah, man, my mom had a tough time growing up being white and Japanese. So she doesn't take it personal, by the way. Like, she's still, like, you think she could grow up, like, because there's, like, a ton of people, like, that, like, white people would move from the mainland and, like, raise their kids there. And their kids would hate Hawaii because their parents, like, made them grow up in a place where, like, they were getting shit and even beat up on. And sorry for this random history detour, but my mom doesn't have that, but what we do have is just a very dark sense of humor that seems to be prevalent throughout, I don't want to say the islands, but any place where you mix a lot of races and it's a mixing bowl, you got to have some thick skin and a sense of humor, so. Or at least thick skin, that's for damn sure. All right, folks, so hopefully it didn't depress you or offend you. But I'm watching Sato. All right, moving on. Billy Algeo defeated Spike Carlisle doing a Billy Quarantine impression, beating him by decision, making it very clear. Again, just a line I didn't get, and I'm surprised it didn't get moved on. But again, I love these matchups when and Billy Algeo's not like some like super processed guy. He's kind of he's pretty wild himself, right? But he showed some really smooth striking. Was really testing some things out and drawing Carlisle into some nice checks. And you know me, I just love when the technical guy beats the athlete, and especially when the athletic side is overhyped or anti-Semitic. Oh, Jesus Christ, Dan, why do you gotta bring that up? Carlisle. But by the way, shout out to I think it was the Sound of Violence at TSOV pod. I think because they're San Diego dudes, and they went to high school with someone with Spike Carlisle, and shared a very funny story of Spike Carlisle beating the crap out of some jock dude. So, which I could totally imagine, by the way, like some little, like, even if he was bricked up back then, like some little ginger kid, like I could totally see the wrong dude, probably a jock, just shaking the wrong tree and getting lit up like a Christmas tree for it. But yeah, Billy Algeo, man. I mean, I saw him make a lot of fans, and even if you were already a fan like I was, you're probably a bigger fan now. So thank you for that bump. That was a nice cash. Norma Dumont defeated Ashley Evans. I really didn't watch this fight. Apologies. Oh boy, did I watch this one. Jonathan Pierce defeated Kai Kamaka III. That's what got me on the Pearl Harbor tangent. That's right. This is the Missouri getting sunk. I think that's what it is, right, Dan? You should know. This is your history in the backyard. Sorry. Yeah, this was I actually picked and played against like the other Hawaiians on the card. This was the only one that I actually picked and played. But they all hurt because, I want my people to do well, and although I probably didn't help the perception of them with the story I just shared. A, there's not that many Asian Pacific Islanders to look forward to, and B, boy, do they not get thought of, talked about highly, and ultimately, most importantly, sadly, do well in general. And it's been tough for Hawaii in general, by the way. It's not just this evening. I mean, like, go back, to I was looking at what was it Martin Day's like Instagram, and he was like before this fight, and I showed him all beat up next to Max Holloway, and he was like, Max got robbed, I got knocked out, it was a bad day. I'm like, man, Hawaii's been having some bad days or nights for a minute, so it definitely sucked. Bad. Not as much as I sucked though for taking that line. Granted, it was only paired with a Baeza, and Baeza, the cash on that more than paid for it, especially the line I got. So believe me, I was fine there, but more just stupid play and feel bad for Hawaii. That's kind of more where I'm coming from, I guess. Because, yeah, people online, too, not saying or tweet very nice things about Hawaii or Hawaiians. I'm like, geez, easy, folks. Okay, I get it. You cast your bet, but go easy on the peeps. But as Holloway says, it is what it is. And this one I cashed on, man. Again, I'm not blind with my biases here, folks, and we'll talk about that even further if I somehow haven't proven that already. But I was all over Anderson Dos Santos. I thought that line was off. No offense to my boy Martin Day there, who was the favorite that I just referenced. But Anderson Dos Santos showed why. So that should have been maybe even a bigger dog play in retrospect. Either way, Bill Algeo and Anderson Dos Santos were just the dogs that really didn't make sense and kind of delivered the way most of us predicted, right? So congrats on you if you cashed that. I know it definitely helped me. It inflated too much before I even would consider taking this fight. I was also hoping that more money would come in on Ostovich, which is why I stayed away, and I was wrong there, despite Ostovich being popular. She wasn't popular at the betting window, right? So Mazzani came in and rolled outside of the back take that the boys at Giffen. And Mazzani, yeah, she's muscling gonna be muscling him around at 125 if she can comfortably make it. It looks like a lifestyle change, but if she can make it, good on her. Sumaderji defeated Malcolm Gordon. I picked Maderji, but stayed away because of the line. But you know what? The line ended up being right, didn't it? With the way that played out. Feel bad for a guy like Malcolm Gordon. It doesn't matter who you are. That's got to suck. And, of course, he had Joe Valtellini in his corner. I'm a big fan of Joe. So, that sucked that they had to go home with Yale there. Nathan is it Manass or Manis? I forget. Defeated Luke Sanders. Guys, especially since I just rewatched Mean Streets recently. I just had the Robert De Niro Mook. What's a Mook? And shouts to Brad again. Mook Sanders kind of lived up to the name there, winning, and then gave it away. Good on Nathan Manis. It was a Southern scrap. All right, that was that. Before we get to the breakdown, just going to do a quick read off here of some things you guys helped me out on. So, of course, at mixedmartialanalyst.com that hosts this podcast, you can go to the right. There are click-through banners for Onnit and Amazon. I usually shout at the beginning, sometimes always at the end of the episodes. Again, it's no cost to support the podcast. You just click through, go buy your vitamin C, your D3. That's important to load up in the wintertime, right? The kettlebells, even though I think they just sold out again. I got some on the restock. Hopefully you did too. Whatever it is, at Onnit or through Amazon. And a small percentage of whatever you shop through those two, you got to click the individual banner, of course, whether you're going to Amazon or Onnit. But whatever you buy, once clicking through the portal, will automatically kick back a small percentage to this here show. Believe me, it's felt. It is useful. And you could do it all time of year, not just during Black Friday. But yes, there is plenty of Black Friday sales to be had, a lot of shopping. And a lot of you guys were kind enough. I'm not going to read through everything. That would take too long. But just a small clipping of that day. Some real decent purchases were made. It doesn't list, by the way, the person, so I'm not going to be putting you on blast if you're like, oh, no, don't say that I bought the Ultra Vibration Max 5000. That's not for me. Don't worry, folks. If you want to buy any of that kind of that kind of stuff. That's what floats your boat. That's fine. It's a judgment-free zone on this podcast. I'll probably read that it's been bought, but don't worry. It doesn't tell me, nor would I share it if it did. But trust me, it doesn't tell me. So it's completely private. You get your privacy too. You're not giving up any privacy. But thank you. Someone bought a Culturelle Daily Probiotic, 30 count digestive health. That's really important. Again, these things are really important. Get probiotics are super important. I don't think I'm reading through the Amazon, by the way, and I don't think on it has probiotics. So that's smart of you. But if you want to, do some vitamin C's or D3, then maybe, some other things. Brickell's Men's Texturizing Sea Salt Spray for Men. What is a sea salt spray for? Is that like for nutrients? Is it like salty? So you can do that? No, Dan, of course not. The Scourge of War, The Lifetime of William Tusimich Sherman. I like it. Someone's doing some historical reading that I really can appreciate, because they did a guide to the Civil War in Nashville. The Liberation Trilogy box set, An Army at Dawn. The Day of Battle, The Guns at Last Light. That sounds really interesting, actually. I'm going to click these links and check this out. You guys are giving me ideas too, so thank you. Checkered Chef Cooling Rack and Baking Rack. Stainless steel oven and dishwasher safe. It's half-sheet cookie pans. All right. ATTCL Men's Night Driving Glasses. Driving for Men's ALG metal frame. Was that like some Steven Seagal stuff? Are you going out looking for some Antifa? What's going on? Jesus, Dad, come on. We got Good Sense Omeprazole delayed release tablets, 20 milligram. Omeprazole. Is that the same stuff? Like, I'm having like flashbacks to Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. When you gotta face Sniper Wolf. Is that the stuff that steadies your hand? Are you Sniper Wolf? Holy shit! Is this the same person that's got the Steven Seagal glasses? Are you shit? Somebody. All right. All right. I'm gonna be. Don't end up on a list. I don't want to be getting. I don't want to be getting tracked. That being said, if you are planning to acquire materials for anything, I'm assuming legal, you go ahead and use that click-through. Wow, Dan, that was responsible. Old Mountain Preseason Cast Iron Buck Bacon Press. Someone's souping up their kitchen. I appreciate this project, because it probably doesn't have to do with killing people. Jesus, Dan, why do you have to assume the worst? But yeah, that sounds good. I got a cast iron pan, and yeah, it's funny. Maybe I should look into what this is, because I actually liked the bacon less in the cast iron pan than the other pans that I use. So I don't know. And I do love cast iron, so I'm just saying. Rollerblades, Zetzer Blades, Women's Adult Fitness Inline Skate. I know who bought that one, actually. Shouts to you. Thank you. And, this looks sweet. JFO Beast 5'8" grappling dummy. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. It's 6 feet and you can manipulate it. Black and yellow, black and yellow. That looks really fun. Enjoy grappling. You gotta grapple with something, man. I mean, boy, let me tell you, if these numbers get any worse, I'm gonna be doing more than grappling with a dummy. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy. All right. On that note, let's push on, and I'm gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to break down UFC on ESPN 19 from top to bottom right here on the Protect Your Neck podcast. And we're back right here on the Protect Your Neck podcast to break down UFC Vegas 16, UFC on ESPN 19, UFC Fight Night, Hermanson versus Vettori. I know all the different names are all around there. Haven't had to come back from a break in a while, but I actually could have used one, and it was a bit of a longer intro. But hey, we're not doing an expedited version. That being said, I don't plan on taking too long with this breakdown. The breakdown portions have arguably been the shorter half of the show anyways, if you've been paying attention. We're going to start from top to bottom, as we always do. Vittori, despite taking the fight on short notice, is your favorite, minus 140. Hermanson come back on him, plus 120. Opened slightly wider, I believe. Vittori, minus 160 was the opener. Surprise to some. I actually heavily leaned toward Vittori, and was almost gonna hit that bet button, but I'm like, let me go back and take a closer look at things because I usually don't do that. It's very rare for me to do anything like that. I don't know why. I just thought that Vittori was the tougher matchup of the prior two, and I still believe that. At least I believe that there's an argument to make for that as far as, Darren Till, who's got some underrated takedown defense. Don't overlook it. Or Kevin, the Smack Man, Holland. Vittori's pressure, he's very athletic. A better grappler than given credit for, than perhaps his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt leads on. Better wrestler than given credit for, that his credentials lead on, although, not really too much of a difference as far as, Hermanson came up doing some Greco, but whereas Vittori actually competed in wrestling tournaments as well as submission grappling tournaments. And you can see his wrestling doing much better since he's come to the States. However, a common thread, and Jack Hermanson actually used similar words as well, which is always good to hear good to hear a fighter say. Sorry, which is he lacks the same explosion and kind of knockout power as a Cannonier or Thiago Maeza Santos, obviously. And there's truth to that. Not just, going by the old stats. He's only got 2, KO victories, which is true. But they're not even KOs. They're TKOs. And they're on the regional scene. And they're against not very impressive guys. And the one that I was able to track down and watch, the more recent one, wasn't against an aggressive guy. It wasn't a attritive stoppage. It was many strikes. And even then, the guy didn't go completely out and was able to contest it. The guy was going to lose. It wasn't the greatest stoppage, but still, just the point is, it's not like he's knocking guys dead. And as I said on the Line Movement MMA betting show, that he kind of reminds me of a Sean Shirk. His boxing is much better than people give credit for. He's moving his head better. He's always kind of leveraged some shots, but he's been levering them more and more. Punching from the same side. Changing up the shot selection too in that variation, moving his head better, like I said, but also even doing those southpaw pull counters, and he uses that when he's trying to pace himself. It's just smart. But Sean Shirk had some decent boxing too for his day, but he just didn't have that power. But perhaps because both these guys are really wide and muscular, and they almost have that punching across their body feel. Vittori doesn't have the shortest arms in the world, 74 inches. That's the same reach as a Conor McGregor. Of course, he is 6 foot in the middleweight division. And a tick boy. I thought, those tick toys, and so he's a thick guy, right? And not that he's punching across his body he's punching wrong. Technique-wise, I'm just trying to over-accentuate, exaggerate, if you will, how thick this guy is, right? Even if he's punching the right way, he's still punching across his body. But seriously, Shirk, the crux of his game is ultimately pressure and grappling. And that's where Vittori does his best work. I feel like he has less of a chance of falling in, especially after seeing it, but falling into the leg lock trappings that Kelvin Gastelum did. However, we've seen him get careless, and part of me thinks he just wasn't respecting Carl Roberson, which is why he got that brief neck snatch and takedown, even though he recovered very fast. He's gonna have to be real careful about going for head outside singles here. He's got a couple different takedowns he goes to, but I would probably suggest it's the old-fashioned, well-timed doubles in the open or against the fence. Which even then, obviously you have to still be careful of Hermanson snatching things up. And Hermanson's actually got a good guard as well. If you go back and watch against other muscly European guys who like to be on top, like Carlos Vemola, for his pre-UFC days, that was one that really caught my attention from Hermanson early on. Was just seeing how he kind of moved there. So it'll be fun and interesting in those regards. So for that reason, you got to suspect maybe Vittori looks to pressure, but just kind of strike, because he'll do that. he'll strike with guys that he thinks he can strike with, and he'll just keep pressing on in, and that pressure and that imposing and the power he puts behind will serve him well. But if he can't hurt Hermansson and spark him into like a downward spiral of bad decisions, then I feel like he's either gonna run himself into something early where he like does the head outside single like I talked about and gets snatched up, or he's going to keep pushing forward and probably arguably win rounds, but you start to wonder where this is going, in which case I think that Vettori ends up looking like the deserved favorite. I got no issue with him being the favorite. Again, I came in leaning toward him. Got love for Italy here, right? And I do like Vettori a lot, by the way. He was one of my favorite characters to come in MMA Junkie Radio. We got him on an off fight week, I think, so that's why he was so goddamn pleasant and friendly, as opposed to the Vettori we typically see in public eye when he's fighting, right? But yeah, I think he'll look like the deserved favorite for the first half of the fight, folks. But if he doesn't find a finish or start downward spiraling Hermansson, then I think he's going to run out of gas, because even though his pace is impressive, he needs pockets to recover. And even though he's gotten better at recovering, hence the countering to cover his tracks while he takes his breaths, right? He'll kind of stay in space. It's still nothing that makes me comfortable going into his first 5-round affair, especially on short notice. Now, I know he was only scheduled to fight in the next week, and I know he looks amazing, and he's doing the things you want to see on his social medias, like biking and really working on that cardio, right? But he was working on that cardio, and he goes so hard because he knows he only has to fight for 3 rounds. Now he has 5 rounds. Now, he's been scheduled 5 before. He has regional titles, right? But that fight, the one title fight that was actually scheduled for 5 rounds, he ended in the first round, so we never got to see it. Whereas Hermansson, even in the regional scene, has been scheduled for 5 rounds a couple of times and has actually had to earn a finish in the 4th round before. Obviously, in the UFC, more relevantly, he did it against Jacare by going all 5 rounds on short notice, no less. So I like that a lot more for Hermansson here. Now, stylistically, Hermansson's had to make much more jumps. He's had to go southpaw, orthodox, to a southpaw, not counter fighter, but like pressure guy who can counter, who's looked to counter more at middleweight in Till. Then you got the smack man, who's got like the jab and the weird, funky style. And then you've got the pressure style of Vettori. So Hermansson's going to have to make more swings of adjustment, whereas Vettori, in the same sense, it's kind of the same. It's a guy with a grappling game he has to respect who fights out of the orthodox stance. However, I don't know if Jacare was going to press him with repeated takedowns, especially as Jacare, we've seen him get older. It's not his style, like a lot of wrestlers and grapplers, whether it's the back, whether it's what have you, falling in love with the striking. They don't grapple as much. The point is, we weren't, and we still really haven't seen Vettori against dedicated grapplers. Now you can look and go, Andrew Sanchez was an All-American, and Cesar Ferreira beat Hermansson, and that guy's a second-degree jiu-jitsu black belt. Well, those guys shot 7 takedowns in between them, and neither got any off because both got off to terrible starts, and Vettori was able to run away with it. So it's a really weird sample size, whereas the Hermansson one, you can accuse Ferreira not fitting that bill that I gave earlier of the explosive athletic knockout type, but that one I write off more to performance anxiety, and I'm not trying to write that off to disrespect Cesar Ferreira, but there is some truth to that. Jack Hermansson's been very open about his performance anxiety issues, especially in a place like Sao Paulo. You all remember crowds, right? And you saw him fall victim. It was a really weird fight, and the way that played out in that whole sequence. Goes back to try to do it again, and then gets clobbered by Maheda Santos. It looks like it's going like the third time is not the charm against Talas Leches as he breaks his rib, but overcomes that adversity to get things done in the 3rd round. So the sample sizes are tricky, but the point is we really haven't seen Vettori against a fighter who's dedicated to fight at that grappling pace and will make him defend repetitive takedowns. And that's what Hermansson is more or less going to do. He is always more of a Greco guy as his base, but his level-changing doubles have gotten a lot better, and I think that could serve him well against a pressuring opponent. He's also got a decent check hook that could serve him well. But for Vettori, he's going to have to throw more uppercuts. That was another reason why I didn't end up picking Vettori. not just because of the power equation and the common thread equation, like I've been explaining, but within those common threads, this Maheta Santos, which was actually thrown from a southpaw stance, and the Cannoneer, which was thrown from like a more squared stance, were all uppercuts that spark those finish off because Jack dips, right? And Vettori will throw uppercuts and knees, but he just doesn't throw them often enough for me to pick him here. Small cage as well, so these grappling and scramble are probably going to happen and appear more often than not. So whether it's early or, as I'm thinking, late, I think Hermanson has more ways to win. He is the underdog. I'm not going to tell you to run to the bank. I'm not confident either way. I don't think you should be confident either way here either. But they're both playable lines, so I may in fact sprinkle on the side I ended up on, since that side does have a plus money on it. And the over, I don't trust the over. It's chalky, and I don't trust it. So because both guys can end inside, and I'm not really an under player for the most part. Nothing against it. Just, it's, I don't know. I just not really something I play a lot, I guess, or I'm confident in enough of. So yeah, I'm just gonna go Hermanson and just stick to the money line, kind of like I recommended in this week's line movement MMA betting sheet. Ovince St. Preux plus 150 underdog to Jamal Hill. Aw, the Sean Connery accent's not going to be the same anymore because he RIP'd. Jamal, bolt the door if you're coming in. Show me your sausage, Jamal. Dan, what version of Finding Forrester did you watch? I'm sorry. This is a stirring tribute to Mr. Connery here. Jesus. Stirring tribute to a dead man and referencing a really obscure movie on our breakdown show. Can we get on with it, Dan? Yeah, sorry, folks. Jamal I don't have an issue with Jamal being the favorite, although he's really getting pushed now. Open minus 135 is a close fight. But the public really likes what they see, and I don't blame him, man. You don't get an athletic he is athletic, I guess. Yeah, he is. I mean, I'm not trying to say I guess like downplay it. I always feel kind of racist, stating the obvious. He's an ex-basketball player, and I'm gonna call the black dude athletic. It just, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way. Why can't you ever say coming up to Compton? Why does it always got to be down to Compton and going up to the Hamptons? Why can't you go down to the Hamptons and up to Compton? You ever think about this, people? Sorry. I don't know why I'm hitting you with that shit. But Jamal. That's right, Jamal. And you're black. Fuck you, William. Sorry, you got to see Finding Forrester to get these references, folks. I know I'm paying tribute to Sean Connery and making him, a pedophilic bigot. But that's kind of what Dan Tom does with all his impressions, in case you haven't noticed. You're one, the other, or both. But yeah, oh man. Could you imagine having make Connery say the H in that name? No, it's Jamal. Sorry. On with it, Dan. Yeah, dude, he's a really crafty southpaw, which you don't see a lot. He goes to the body, which I love. He can keep a pace. He's more precise than a one-punch knockout puncher, which is fine because it still gets the job done. You don't need a lot. He's a big guy at 6'4", 79-inch reach. But I'm worried about more the size equation the other way, because Ovince St. Preux is clearly one of the biggest light heavyweights in the division and will be one of the biggest and most physical guys Jamal Hill has faced at 6'3", with an 80-inch reach. Tennessee. Shout out to Ben Cohn for top 5 thick fighters. OSP definitely came up. Resting on his laurels there. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow, too many inappropriate landmines. The point is, Jamal Hill has also got some good get-ups, blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's the wrestling, the physicality, and the overall submission grappling where we'll be at a deficit, and the experience, obviously. I don't think those things are too arguable. I don't blame people that were taking their shots on Hill, but for me, a 7-0 guy against a 40-fight veteran, I got to see more, especially if you're going to be a favorite. I'd be lying if I said I was uber competent, because I actually do think this Hill kid's got a ceiling. If he does lose here and I end up being right, not only am I not gonna, not that I'm a big victory lap guy, but I'll tell you, don't condemn this Hill kid. Like I do think he's got a really decent ceiling, especially for the division he competes in. You know what I'm saying, folks? Like I think he could do well and whatnot. But OSP 2-1. By the way, Hermanson 3-1 unofficially against Southpaws. 2-1 against Southpaws' OSP. So yeah, I think OSP is gonna go orthodox because like guys like Machida or these other guys, they really like that open stance look. So I think OSP is gonna do that, and if that's the case, he's got a really mean left hook. OSP. Obviously, it's his money punch as we saw with the Menafield knockout. And Jamal Hill, even though I don't criticize him for like having his hands low, he does retract his right hand a bit low. Something I noticed, and more importantly, a guy like DC noticed. And as soon as DC pointed it on the commentary, it's cracked by a left hook, and I'm like, ooh, that's bad news for OSP. And the other reason why is not just because of the wrestling and OSP, his recent trend outside of his lone heavyweight fight as of late, especially these younger, even southpaw striking guys like Alex Sajak or Menafield, he'll go for takedowns early too. And even though I do like the urgency on Hill's getup, he kind of does this lazy thing with his left arm that if he does it against the cage, it could cost him like one of those shuck buys where OSP gets the ride position and gets to finish the round. Like I'm pretty sure he did it against Manawa. I know obviously Manawa was one of the two people that KO'd him. But I'm just talking about that first round. More importantly, if he's got that kind of lazy arm facing his opponent like that on that side, we've seen OSP like that aforementioned Mikhail Oleksiejczuk fight. That he forces the Von Flue. He doesn't even need you to go for the guillotine anymore. So that's kind of what was jumping out on paper. So I'm picking OSP. I feel like regardless of what side you're on, you should stick to the money line because this could go in so many ways. Like, I'd be careful chasing inside the distance on Hill even because if it goes to the scorecards, I would argue that's Hill's best chance of winning. Like, OSP's a 40-fight veteran, but I think he's only won like 4 fights by decision in his whole career. He's not a dependable process guy. He's definitely an athletic opportunist. Not the popular one, but I'll take him here. We'll see. Really excited to see more from Hill in general. I haven't played OSP, by the way, especially because his money line keeps going up. So that's kind of surprising me. So him and another dog I've stayed away from so far, even though I've picked him and I do intend on sprinkling a little bit on him. I just want to get a better number if I'm going to sprinkle. Excuse me. All right, next fight. Tyler Santos, -225. Comeback on Montana De La Rosa. 185 plus 185. Yeah, this line, it opened at -265, so it opened a little higher, I guess. I think Tyler Santos rolls here. It'll probably be by decision, not the most exciting one. And Montana De La Rosa will be trying to wrestle for half the fight, hopefully, for her sake, because she's going to need to try to get it to the ground, I think. But the physicality, takedown defense, and clinch of Santos, I'm not sure it's going to happen. Careful if you're stacking on this one. I may throw Santos in a fun parlay, but that's about it. Like small fun parlay, or like my usual one where I do the main card picks. Next one that was definitely in a parlay. Roman Dolidze, -200. John Allen, +170. Props to people who got Dolidze -165. I missed that boat. But considering that he opened at this number, -200, it's not like you're getting gypped. You're just getting it for the actual price. Which is fair, because I'm not impressed with John Allen at +170. This game's about as boring as Alan Rickman's answering machine. Hello, you've reached Alan Rickman. Please leave a message. Hello, Alan. Sorry. John Allen is, he's a shootbox guy from Brazil. He's dangerous when he's coming forward. He's pretty scrappy, but man, I got that Vinicius Mojeda loss burnt into the back of my head. Of course, he loses in Contender Series in a triangle where it's like the light of day. You know how they're like, you can see the shoulder blade, like, oh, he's fine. Like, you could see not only his neck, his collarbone, his shoulder blade, and there's even space between all that flesh and his shoulder blade and Vinicius Mojeda's triangled legs, like where you could see through to the cage. You could say hi to the ring girls. You could do some lip reading. Like there was so much light of day, and this dude taps to it. And it was a high paced fight, yeah, but man, ooh, it was a bad look. And I know Mojeda's a black belt, but we saw how well he fared. I think he got like knocked out like 3 times or something, like real fast. Like, and I'm not trying to do the MMA math thing, but like John Allen gets a shot after that in the UFC, faces Mike Rodriguez, barely gets by him in what's an ugly fight that like Rodriguez pretty much gave away. I think he had a bunch of stuff going on in that fight too. And who really had some stuff going on was John Allen, who tested positive for some stuff, which is why it's listed as a no contest. So I don't know. I'm not too impressed with him. Whereas Roman, like, he's a grappler. That's how I knew him. But most people, I guess, know him as a striker, maybe from his last fight, or it wasn't his last fight where he only got a knockout. He's gotten some impressive knockouts before and doing some things. And he moves really well. And just being athletic and kind of technically skilled and being able to move well, kind of a mix of those 3 things alone will get you pretty far at light heavyweight. I know beating Kadis Ibragimov, the preacher, as Zane Simon likes to call him, it doesn't account for much. But I don't know. I like what I saw up until that point, like the way he moves and whatnot. And of course, I'm a little bit biased. He's working with my guy Eric Nixick down there at Extreme Couture, who is going to keep him sharp on them pads. And I was texting with Eric today, and Eric was just like, yeah, man, no, he's great. It's great that everybody thinks this guy just strikes because his grappling is insane, which made me feel a lot better for my take that I gave on the Line Movement MMA betting show, where I was talking about that athleticism, that leg lock game that he prefers. And you can see little hints of it with the way he moves, and I like the way he moves. And I think he's going to get the submission here. He could maybe knock Allen out, but Allen's got a pretty big, thick head. So I think he's just going to punch him a bunch of times and get him rocked. Allen's going to shoot or give up a takedown at that point, and then the submission will be short to follow, especially with looking how fast he tapped. On best fight odds, the average kind of odds was like plus 500. That's what I wrote in my article. But when I was on, I think it was MyBookie, I think I saw it for like plus 800, the sub prop. So I grabbed Doldice plus 800 for a quarter unit, which was about all that's left in my free play. So I just used that for the sub prop there. I think that's worth a stab, and the only real prop I played. But of course I paired Dolidze up with someone else on the card. Which is really easy to pick if you consider that I did it ethnically. Dan, that's not why you did it. That was just a coincidence. All right, let's ease the race stuff out of this. Jesus, Dan, you're really gonna step on some toes somewhere along the lines. Oh, story of my life. I took. I really like the Dolidze here. The dude's like, by the way, ADCC winner, Asia, Europe, World. Got a lot of different accolades, a lot of competitions. All right, next fight. Oh, the heavies. The heavies of heavies. John Vellante. Hey, John Vellante. More like DP Vellante than GP Vellante. Am I right, Chris? Hey, come on, I'm married, John. All right, John Vellante is minus 300. Everyone's favorite Guido. I mean, I would love it. And Jake Collier plus 170. Shout out to Aaron Bronstetter for actually interviewing Jake. I was reading Jake Collier's bio, and it said, when did you start fighting? And it just says, here, wait, I'll pull it up here. I'm taking Vellante here as I pulled this up. Not much to explain why, but he will be able to decide if this fight stays standing or on the ground. And I think his right hand will be enough to get the job done. Over-under seemed dangerous. This seems like a spot where I would like to play it over, but the price is not really that attractive. In fact, the underprice is actually more attractive in this spot. Maybe I should sprinkle there because I could see John Volante maybe getting him out of there early, but maybe not. Maybe this just goes. This goes as my man Brad would say, fatty. But yeah, we got a Jake Call here. Here it is, folks. All right, I'm pulling it up right now. So it says, when did you start fighting? About 2009, mainly just to get into shape because I was an overweight guy. I know, the cadence that I read that and the fact that it was an outdated bio sheet that they're using didn't help. I skewed that. I did the media thing there. But still, that was just guy that made me chuckle. I was like, yeah, that's great. All right, I'm going to take John Volante there. Just leave it at that. All right, next fight. Movsar Evloev minus 630 versus Nate the Train Landver. Nate the Train, baby. Oh, it's down. Nate the Train. There's no easier way. Shout out to Joey Odessa. I was listening to the podcast that he's on to follow the action, and I love Odessa's pronunciations. Like if you thought, Joey Diaz's Carlos Conduit dog was funny. Like Joey Odessa pronouncing names is my favorite thing on planet Earth. Shouts to the old OG MMA Junkie Radio panel before my day being on the show, even. And I loved getting Uncle Joey on there. Yeah, I can see why people are playing Landwehr. You're not crazy at that line. I'll probably be playing him too if this thing keeps going. Jeez, it's about to hit like plus 500 for Christ's sakes. I'm a fan of Evloev too, always have been, but I mean the dude states that he can still make bantamweight even though he looks to be growing into featherweight. He's not the biggest featherweight. Not that Nate the Train is. Not that Nate the Train's the biggest puncher, but Nate the Train can hit hard, can knock fools out. And that could happen here, especially with like a head kick or something, right? Being said, Evloev can throw up those head kicks too, and he's knocked guys out with that as well. I like his boxing. He moves his head off line much more consistently than Nate the Train does. Nate the Train shows it in his shadow boxing and stuff. He doesn't always do it in the fights, right? He does it on the mitts, does it in the shadow box, doesn't always do it in the fights. Nate the Train really likes to get in there and feel the fight. His wrestling, both offensively and defensively, mainly his defensive grappling in general, underrated. So that'll be interesting to see how those shake out. That being said, I still feel like Evloev's going to cruise here. He puts up a decent amount of volume where he can cruise and his better technique. I feel like the fight's going to be much more competitive than the odds let on. I do see this one going the distance if you want to find an angle, if there is one that's playable for that. However, I can't reasonably pick Landwehr, even though I'll be probably sprinkling on him and definitely be rooting for him to do well because he's a crazy dude who is fun to watch fight. But unbiasedly, the pick is technically Evloev. So, all right, next fight, Jimmy Flicking the Bean Flick. Man, that is not his name. That is very inappropriate. Minus 155, Cody Durden plus 135. His name is Robert Paulson. Yeah, I took Durden here again as a dog. I mean, if I took him against a minus 300 Chris Gutierrez and he got a draw, I do like him here against Jimmy Flick if he can avoid that submission in the first round. I think it's going to be really scary. I know Flick had a more composed performance on Contender Series, but that was also one-way traffic, so it's always hard to tell the cardio. Flick is traditionally do or die, and he reminds me of like a Jimmy Hedis, even though he's less judo, more wrestling. This guy's from Oklahoma. I feel like Durden is the better wrestler, but the Hedis comparison because of there is a certain sense of fragility of the fight being able to really swing hard the other way, especially in striking or clinching scenarios. We saw Ray Rodriguez get him out of there, and that's no disrespect. Ray Rodriguez is a guy, of course, I like, a regional scene guy who's won titles, won a title for that performance even. But the point is, it's something to watch out for, and you can counter that by going, well, Ray Rodriguez is a bantamweight. That was up at bantamweight. He's going to be up flyweight. Well, Cody Durden is a bantamweight, and even if Cody Durden makes the weight, which he says he never has, I'd like to think that's a little bit of troll in there. as my man Hal with the tweet of the day going at it, replying to Cody's tweet about the weight. Attaboy, Cody, get that line back up to plus 145. And he got the line back up because it went down to plus 135, which is when I wrote my article. And admittedly took him because I took him late. I don't know why I slept on it. I did the tape for this one earlier than most of the fights on this card. But it is what it is. But if you actually go to Cody Durden's record, he's made it before. When he fought on NFC 38, I think off the top of my head, he weighed 126. Now he's got the help of the PI and whatnot. He hasn't done it in a while, so I'm sure it's a pain in the ass. But either way, it'll suck for his purse if he doesn't make weight, but it won't affect your bets either way. I think he can get this. It was on short notice that he gassed, but I think he's got the better gas tank than Flick. He's just going to have to stay out of submissions. He's a better striker. He's 4-0 as a boxer. He's done pro kickboxing, boxing, trains with the Lima brothers, so that's why he had the good checks and responses to the leg kicks. Got a real stiff jab, Durden does, which I think both those jabs and the leg kicks are going to serve him super well against a guy like Flick. It's just that first round. Not asking you to follow me off this cliff because this is going to be a sweat regardless, I imagine, right? But yeah, I'm going to go with the dog. I took a shot on the dog here, Durden, plus 135, where he sits now, actually. Okay. Ilya Topuria, minus 250, and Damon Jackson, a.k.a. Walt Goggins, plus 210. Love me some Walt Goggins. Oh, by the way, Jimmy Flick has a lot of Von Flue chokes. He calls it the Von Flick, so we'll have Von Prue versus Von Flick. Interesting. Yeah, man, but this one, Topuria, I think he opened at minus 170, so he's been inflated a bit. But anything south of minus 250 is fine for me, especially considering I'm only using him as a parlay piece. That's right, doing a Georgian parlay and the Georgian guys for plus money. I know, I know it'll upset the contingent who likes to fade the Georgians, especially guys like Marab, which I get, and there will be spots like that for those of you in the future. However, these guys, I think, proved us right as far as their first times out as being able to get the jump on competition, especially Topuria. For those of you who were with me there on the dog money, that was a nice cash, wasn't it? Obviously, the secret's out a bit on both here. That being said, I still feel like his reasonable lines, I already explained the Daldis. Topuria, it's tough because it's like he's going to be shooting, and we saw him get tired, and like that's the exact recipe of what happened last time against Mirsad Bektik. And, Damon Jackson can also wrestle, is a guillotine specialist, but is like a cardio freak. This guy was like, I forget what they used to call him. They had like a nickname for him just for his freaking cardio back in the day. I think he was on track as well as wrestling, right? And he looks the part, right? So it should be all those flags for sure. And like, oh, you're going to grapple a guy who's going to, be going for guillotines? That doesn't seem smart. I get that makes sense on paper. But you also have to keep in mind that Topuria, you can't condemn his gas tank. Yeah, that was his first decision to win. But you look at it this way. On 8 days' notice, the dude made his UFC debut in the pandemic era and still was able to earn his first decision win against a guy who was game and competitive all the way through, like Yusuf Zalal, where Factory X and every fighter minus at 135 or lower weight has been on fire. Like, that's impressive. And on the flip side, Bektik, I like Bektik, and I'm friends with Dulce, respect that guy, right? No disrespect, but let's be honest, Bektik has got a suspect gas tank throughout his career. He's also, pulled the proverbial stunts, if you will. Shout out to the Half the Battle podcast for that phrase. But Bektik will do that kind of stuff. He'll give up crucial positions as well in fights when he's tired. We've seen him do all those things on separate occasions, multiple times throughout his career. Not trying to shit on the guy, but let's be real, right? Like, let's be real here. So that was kind of meant to happen. In fact, me and many kind of tweeted it out before it happened on the night of. That was a night where everybody was kind of getting guillotined. Remember, the Canadian kid got guillotined as well. So it's not taking anything away from Damon Jackson. Like, I was super happy. I mean, that dude is a longtime Fortis guy, longtime Safe Sayud guy. You guys know I'm a Safe Sayud fan. Much respect to him. Much respect to Fortis MMA. Damon Jackson was one of those first guys to get him in the door. Pioneering. Much. I love seeing regional guys pay their dues and being able to get a shot that they shouldn't have got and winning fights they shouldn't have won. I love it. I do. Not trying to ass on that, believe me. However, I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it again. But Damon Jackson's a guillotine guy, Dan. You just said so. He is. He just has good cardio, Dan. You just said so. He is. He's a vet with plenty of experience, Dan. You just said so. He is. Do you know how many third-round submissions he's gotten besides that? Pause. Do you know how many third-round finishes he has gotten besides that? Pause. You can go look. The answer is 0. That was the only one in his career, and he just got it. He's usually getting finishes in the first or the second round, people. And he's only seen the scorecards very little bit of times. That is right. Traditionally, by the resume, by the stats, by the statistics, by the facts, Damon Jackson is traditionally a do-or-die fighter, folks. So a do-or-die fighter against a guy like Topuria, who not just is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and that's the other thing, Bektic, that's so dangerous about being a guy who gives up crucial positions and gasses, because Bektic, go look at Bektic's record. He literally only has like 2 submissions, and they weren't the most impressive ones. They were pretty sparsed out from each other, just your typical RNCs, I believe. He was a position and striking guy. Topuria is an aggressive positional and submission guy, okay? Topuria has been grappling since age 4, both jiu-jitsu and wrestling, Greco. So he's got a really strong clinch. You saw him hitting those suplexes. I mean, this dude is bored. Look at his back. He's got the back of a judoka. I mean, the back does not lie. This dude's a machine. Now he's got a full camp. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to get the finish. And you know what? I think he can win another decision if he needs to as well. So I paired him up with Roman Dolidze at minus 190. Got him for that. Plus 111. I got him better odds over at BetOnline AG. But again, not enough guys around down, so so I'm trying to do the Lord's work, and I actually use the less sexy line again just to try to give you the most honest and down to earth perspective here. But yeah, that's what I went with. All right, next fight. Gabriel Benitez minus 230. Justin James plus 190. Obviously stated bias here, completely biased toward Justin James. Known him for a while, trained with this kid, been beat up by him plenty of times. Hardest leg kicks I've ever felt, and for whatever fucking reason, he hasn't been throwing them in his fights lately. And I hope he throws it here, and it's an open stage matchup against the Southpaw. But that doesn't matter because your boy's a Southpaw, and I can tell you those, what should be weaker outside leg kicks, fucking James can throw those hard too. And it would be nice. That's the best way to get the jump on a guy who is known for his hard kicking. You kick them. A la Justin Gaethje and Barbosa. They're just like, what the fuck? You're kicking me? They almost can't believe it. It's great. So I really hope James does it. That being said, it's obvious who I'm rooting for, who I'm picking, and it's obvious that it's bias, as I'm admitting so, as I always do to you folks here. That being said, make no mistake about it. Gabriel Benitez is the deserved favorite. He shouldn't be this high. In fact, the odds makers didn't open him this high, I don't believe. Yeah, they opened him actually as the underdog, plus 115. Now, I'm biased, so I would agree with that, but I would have expected Gabriel Benitez to be an open as the slight favorite. That being said, even though I do believe Benitez is the deserved favorite, he shouldn't be over 2-1, where he keeps getting pushed. Now you're almost going to give me 2-1 on the guy who was initially favored, a guy who people in the know knows they can win this fight. Benitez can be knocked out, and Justin James has knockout power in his fist. Benitez is only getting older, cut into that weight, whereas James, even though he's got a decent amount of miles on him too, the more that meets the eye when you count his amateur record, he's proven that he's a tank that can take some adversity and will keep coming forward. I don't think he's going to get submitted by the guillotine by Benitez if he was able to get out of that Tucker guillotine. Or did he? Wait, didn't he get submitted eventually anyways, though? I can't even remember now. Jesus. Either way, I'll trust James. He doesn't list it, but he's a brown belt. He's been a brown belt for a long time, and he's a legit brown belt. Justin James is, he got submitted the last time out. That's right. Rear naked. That's right. But he escaped that guillotine first. That was only the first time he's been stopped as a pro, so that's not too bad. And the only other TKO loss is an amateur. I believe I was at that one. It was one of those classic where you get caught with a knee. It's a head kick, but you get caught with a knee part of it. Like those always like instant knockout everybody. Like it was one of those, and even then I think he still stumbled a bit, and then eventually got finished. So he's a durable cat. I'm gonna pick him here. I don't blame you for not following me off the cliff. However, regardless of my bias or my direction I'm headed, I figure the numbers should at least be getting your guys' attention. This big of a swing, folks. So I'm going with Justin James here. Next fight. Jordan Levitt minus 400. Matt Wyman, handsome Matt Wyman, plus 325. Yeah, Levitt opened minus 300, got juiced to minus 400. I get it. I like Levitt. He's a wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy. Comes with the tough enough scene, so I like him. Wyman's an old school guy, and I know he's good buds with Goes and George from Junkie Radio. He's done really good interviews with him. So it feels like I should like Wyman, but something about him back then always rubbed me the wrong way. He just kind of seemed like he was just kind of always just annoyingly there. I felt like Teddy KGB watching him. These guys hanging around, hanging around. These fights like you think he's gonna lose, and there he is. He's hanging around. 200 UFCs later almost, and he's still hanging around. And after looking like a complete asshole, to be honest, against like Joe Selecki, there's that weird, disturbing behavior. I don't know what's going on with Matt Wyman, man. I hope he's well, but because that was not a good look, man. So I'm picking Jordan Levitt here. I really don't expect much from Matt Wyman. Hopefully he can just, whatever the fuck his goal is, whatever the fuck his contract is, whatever the fuck his prerogative is, he just gets it out and is done with it. And we can all move on. That's how I feel about that fight. Luis Smolka minus 135. Jose Quinones plus 115. Wowzers. Meowzers. Quinones actually opened as a slight. No. It was Pick'em. Minus 105. But now you're getting plus money. I don't blame anybody taking a shot on Quinones. I can't remember who I picked last time. I'm pretty positive, like I said in the Line Movement MMA betting show, that I picked Quinones. So I'm going to stick with him here. Especially with Smolka's downtrend and the way things have been going for Hawaii, man. I'm going to be rooting for him, but I'm going to be hoping I'm wrong. I'm going to be giving the old shout out to Phil McKenzie and the Heavy Hands podcast, the Sadness Hedge, if you will. But yeah, I'm going to pick Quinones here to outwork him to a decision. Smolka's going to need to get a finish, and I don't know if he's going to get that. He goes to the body more, which I like, but Quinones looks like he'd take shots at the body. It's just the chin. And Smolka's not a one-shot knockout guy unless he's able to get like the Richie Voss sidekick to the head, something freakish like that, or an opportunistic sub. I feel like Quinones rolls to the decision, so at plus 115, I don't blame anybody taking that. I'm sure you get even more if you play the decision prop, which is probably worth looking at if you're a Quinones supporter. I may sprinkle, but again, it's hard because my hat is with Hawaii here. So, but I'm going to go with Quinones. See, I can go against bias too, right? All right, how did we do on time, Dan? 114. All right, wow, longer on the breakdown. All right, it's deserved. It's okay. A little bit earlier this week. All right, folks, recapping the picks. Taking Jack Hermanson over Marvin Vettori. Taking Tennessee OSP over Jamal Hill. Jesus Christ, did I get lost on that breakdown? Taking Tyler Santos, Tyler Shire, Rock, we've got money, over Montana De La Rosa. Taking Roman Dolidze, hey Brownie, hey Stinker, over John Allen. Taking Jan Vellante, GP Vellante, over Jake Collier. Taking Mavsvar Evloev over Nate the Train Landver. Taking Jimmy Flick-a-da-bean Flick over Cody Tyler Durden. No, I'm taking Durden over Flick. What are you talking about? I'm taking Tyler Durden over Flick. Taking Ilya Taporia over Walt Goggins. That's Jamin Jackson, of course. Taking Justin James as a dog over Gabriel Benitez. Taking Jordan Levitt over Matt Wyman. Taking taking Jose Quinones over Luis Smolka. Sorry, my dog drinking water's got me thrown off. Parlayed. I did the I did the Georgian parlay. Parlayed the two Georgians for plus money. Doldis minus 195 and Taporia minus 250 for plus 111, 2 units. Straight, I took Durden for 1 unit plus 35. Sprinkled on Hermanson plus 105 for a quarter unit. I'll probably sprinkle on OSP and Janes as well, but the line is trending upwards whether you're on them or not. It shouldn't be, so I'm going to wait and see if I can get an even juicier line before I do that. Props, I took Dolidze by sub plus 800. Avoid list, really the only thing I could write down was Collier Volante. I don't know where the heck that thing's going, though part of me suspects I may go anti-fatty and play under. So we will see there. Good luck on your picks and plays. Remember that nothing can kill the grimace. And until next time, protect your neck.